The room was silent, so silent you could almost hear the tension crackle in the recycled air. 50 species, hundreds of eyes, tendrils, antennae, or other sensory organs trained on the center of the amphitheater chamber. The Galactic War Council had convened only 3 times in recorded history. This was the 4th, and it was because of them. A shimmering hologram flared into being, grainy footage from the outer Centauri colonies. A human battleship, sleek and brutish like a blade wrapped in thunderclouds, tore through a defensive formation of 8 Jarathi warcruisers. The humans didn't just win. They embarrassed them. "This is an act of aggression," snarled High Admiral Vrash of the Jarathi Combine, his tusks clicking against each other. "Our blockade was legal under Interstellar Accord 47 Delta. We offered them sanctions and they responded with orbital bombardment." "They rejected your authority, Vrash," whispered Chancellor Griven of the Lasari Ascendancy, her voice like mist curling over glass. "As they've rejected the entire council since their admission was denied." Ambassador Yulkat of the Hesh Collective blinked both his vertical eyelids. "Let us not forget, humans applied for membership only once, and that application was incomplete." Incomplete was diplomatic language. The truth? The council laughed at them. Too young, too brash, too violent. Primitive little apes playing with fire. Let them burn on their own world. Except they didn't burn. They thrived. Now they were coming. Admiral Gyrax, a 3-legged Hydronian tactician, slammed his hoof on the resonant stone of the floor. "Their fleet has tripled in 5 cycles. They seized Zenthus. They fortified the Hellion corridor. They're building something near Proxima. Our scouts don't return. And they never ask for terms?" hissed Vrash. "No parley. No surrender. Not even arrogance. Just silence." Griven leaned forward. "Because they don't think they're fighting a war." Everyone turned. "They're finishing one." Back on Earth, General Sophia Elwood stood at the edge of the training field as the ground shook with the rhythmic stomps of incoming exosuit battalions. The sky above was split by the contrails of fast-deploy drones and orbital kinetic delivery systems, the newest generation of rods of God. She was reviewing the updated battle reports when a voice buzzed over her neural link. "Ma'am, we've intercepted another transmission from the Council. It's a plea this time. Play it." The message came through garbled, but the translation AI cleaned it quickly. "This is a formal appeal from the Galactic War Council. Cease hostilities. Diplomatic envoys are en route. Your expansion is unsanctioned. We are prepared to negotiate concessions." Elwood didn't smile. She grinned. "They want to talk now?" After 7 colonies razed, 3 Earth ships destroyed with no provocation, and 30 years of ignoring every envoy we ever sent. Her lieutenant chuckled. "Guess we finally made the guest list." She turned toward the holographic display, sectors lighting up red where human fleets were pushing forward. The new supercarrier Valhalla had broken past the Nalith front last week. A month before that, the silent orbital fortress they called the Anvil had gone dark, only to reawaken under human command. "No," she said softly. "Now we're writing the invitations. Council Planet Sereth Prime. Begin Project Collapse," hissed Vrash. A murmur spread. "That violates every tenet of interstellar warfare," Griven whispered, recoiling. "Project Collapse was outlawed 2 centuries ago." "They will not stop," Vrash snarled. "You've seen what they did to the Sorelli fleet. What they did to the Varen homeworld. We don't have centuries anymore. We have weeks." Gyrax exhaled, steam wafting from his gill vents. "The humans didn't bring war to us. We brought it to them. We thought they would beg that their spirit would break. But they fight like something ancient woke inside them. They fight like they've done this before." "Because they have," Griven murmured. "Long before we noticed them." In orbit over Daedalus Station, Captain Monroe paced the bridge, his synthetic leg clicking with every step. The starfield before them was fractured by the curvature of a massive gravity well, the result of a collapsed Lasari warp gate. "We're in their backyard now," he said. "That little stunt we pulled at Helios Ridge? They'll respond." "They already tried," his first officer replied. 6 Council cruisers intercepted our outer scouts. Only 1 returned. And it surrendered. Monroe stopped. "Surrendered? What species?" "Vranathi." He blinked. The Vranathi were bred for war. 8-limbed, triple-lunged, pain-insensitive monsters. They didn't surrender. They died. What did it say? His officer didn't meet his eyes. It said, it was seeking asylum from the humans. Monroe let that sit for a moment. "Broadcast our status to High Command. Let them know we're ready for Phase 4. And he paused. Tell them to begin planetary compassion ops. The civilians won't survive this unless we make room. The officer looked surprised. We're offering mercy? No. We're deciding who gets it. Council Archive Records, redacted transcripts. Entry 1. First contact, Earth Sector 217 years ago. Species shows aggressive social bonding, recursive violence simulations, termed entertainment, and a cultural obsession with sacrifice for abstract values. Recommend denial of admission. Entry 2. Unclassified military doctrines, Human Archives. They use their own extinction scenarios as training manuals. Most species fear oblivion. Humans prepare for it, name it, and invite it to dinner. Entry 3. Last known report from the Hydronian 5th Recon Group. They aren't afraid to die. They expect to. But more than that, they expect you to. Back on Earth, General Elwood stood in the subterranean command chamber beneath Greenland Command. The screen before her split into 6 sectors, each displaying a council fleet either in retreat, surrender, or destruction. We've hit 26 systems in 3 months, her strategist reported. No signs of central resistance. Only regional skirmishes. They're fractured. Good, she said. That means they're scared. What about reinforcements? Humanity is the reinforcement. We're not sending troops anymore. We're sending reminders. Of what they did. Of what they thought we were. Ma'am, her lieutenant said slowly. What if they offer peace? She turned her head, slow and deliberate. They were offered peace. When we were weak. When we were kind. When we asked. Her eyes were steel. Now we're not asking. The war map in the subterranean command chamber pulsed red. 26 systems lost. 14 more destabilized. Major trade lanes ruptured. Civilian evacuations across 6 core council worlds. Humanity hadn't just invaded, they'd shifted the balance of power. General Sophia Elwood stood motionless, her eyes following the flicker of another council fleet winking out under kinetic barrage. She had given no reaction. But inside, she felt the same electric clarity she'd felt back during Earth's unification wars, when orbital strikes against sky cities made entire populations vanish into plasma clouds. Back when humanity finally learned not to make the same mistake twice. And now they were applying that lesson to the galaxy. A soft chime broke her stillness. An encrypted channel, origin unknown. Open it. A face emerged, a face no human had ever seen live before. Chancellor Griven of the Lissari Ascendancy. Ethereal. Her translucent features barely visible against a swirl of golden mist. Eyes like polished moonstone. You are the one they call Elwood, she said, voice low and deliberate. I am, the general replied. You are the one who approved a quarantine blockade around Mars 2 decades ago. Griven exhaled, perhaps in regret, perhaps not. That action was not intended as an act of war. It was intended to contain us. You failed. Griven blinked slowly. I come to ask for dialogue. I come to ask for time. Now you ask. Elwood's voice remained calm, neutral. Where was your voice when we sent envoys to your council? When our colonists starved on sealed moons while your fleet stood by? Griven hesitated. We didn't believe you would ever reach this point. We believed you would break. You believed wrong. The screen flickered. Another red flare on the war map. The Lissari outer perimeter just collapsed. Human stealth fleets were breaking the last lines of defense near the Varan Gate. You're out of time, Chancellor, Elwood said, cutting the signal. And we're out of patience. Hydronian Deep Archives, classified Vault Omega. Admiral Gyrax was old. Not by human standards, he'd seen 300 revolutions of his star. Long enough to remember the last time the Council feared anything. And he was watching it happen again. He had poured through human cultural artifacts in secret, accessing forbidden media, historical files, even Earth's mythologies. Not just their wars, their legends. The ones they told themselves when no one else was watching. They told stories of extinction. Of final stands. Of enemies so vast and ancient that no survival was possible, and still, their stories ended in resistance. No plea. No submission. Only the fight. He turned to his assistant, a young tactician barely 50 solar cycles old. Do you understand what we are facing? They are mortal, the assistant said. They bleed. They die. Gyrax smiled, bitter and heavy. Yes, and they do it on purpose. Earth's Lunar War Forge, Orbital Drydock Omega. The supercarrier Valhalla hovered like a wounded god. Battle scars ran down its hull in molten rivulets. Crews and exo-rigs swarmed over the surface, repairing weapons arrays, refitting its ventral railguns with neutron lances. Captain Monroe walked beneath the Titan's hull, boots echoing against the titanium walkway. A new AI warframe stood beside him, humanoid in shape but unnervingly still. "Status on the Anvil project?" he asked. The AI responded in a crisp, genderless voice. "Online. Full system integration achieved. Local space-time displacement field functional. Temporal distortion modules tested. Estimated deployment, 3 cycles." Monroe raised an eyebrow. "You finished time distortion?" "We perfected it. With help." "What help?" The AI turned toward him. "From what the Council left buried in our system during their covert observation periods. You were being watched for centuries, Captain. They gave you the seeds of your own destruction." Monroe's lips curled into a cold smile. "We planted them somewhere better." Council world of Thera, evacuation protocols active. Massive transports lifted from the planet's surface, leaving dust devils where entire cities had once stood. The citizens of Thera, once the shining core of the Council's diplomatic branch, were now crammed into Exodus vessels, hoping to reach neutral space before the humans arrived. Except, the humans had already arrived. From the clouds above, sleek black arrowheads descended, silent, unannounced. Human stealth ships. Not firing. Not attacking. Just watching. On the main transport bridge, Elder Ambassador Yulkat stared at the incoming fleet with a trembling jaw. "They're letting us go." His assistant, a young Heshling with freshly glowed antennae, turned in confusion. "They're merciful?" "No," Yulkat whispered. "They want us to remember this. Every refugee. Every escapee. Every survivor will tell the story. The humans came, and chose not to burn us." The Heshling swallowed. "And we'll never know why." Earth Greenland Command. A new room. Circular. Quiet. No screens. Just a table of stone, unpolished, ancient in design. General Elwood entered and sat alone. One by one they entered. Leaders of the Unified Earth Directorate, the Martian Ascendancy, the Jovian Compact, the Titan Engineers. They said nothing. Finally Elwood spoke. "They want to talk." Murmurs. "Chancellor Griven has offered terms. Vrash has requested truce via third party. Gyrax has leaked internal strategy documents. They're folding." "And we?" asked the Titan representative. "We listen," Elwood said. "But we do not pause. Not until we decide." The Jovian rose. "They thought we would beg." "They always thought that," she replied. "But they never understood that humanity doesn't beg. We endure. Then we choose." Council War Bunker, Sereth Prime. The final meeting of the Galactic War Council had no pomp. No banners. No ceremonial guards. Just silence. Vrash looked gaunt. His fur matted, one eye gone. Griven shimmered faintly, barely stable. Gyrax had stopped speaking days ago. The war was no longer a battle of fleets. It was a slow crumbling of assumptions. "They will come here," Vrash rasped. "They will reach this world." Griven nodded. "Then we surrender." Gyrax finally looked up. "And if they don't accept it?" Silence. Then a quiet voice behind them, a human envoy appearing from the shadows. "No guards. No translator. You don't get to choose anymore." 3 heads turned. The envoy stepped forward, placing a small device on the table. A projector lit up. A single word appeared in glowing Terran script. "Reckoning." The word hovered in the dim light like an open wound. Reckoning. None of the council members spoke. Not even Vrash, whose species' response to fear was traditionally violence. Even he understood, finally, that there would be no more negotiating tables, no more loopholes, no back-channel diplomacy. There would only be a tally. A final one. The human envoy, tall, clean-cut, eyes full of something deeper than anger, looked over the remains of the once mighty council. "You're still thinking in terms of territory. Military strength. Control," he said. His voice was level, almost gentle. "But this isn't about those things anymore." Griven, ever the diplomat, dared to speak. "Then, what is this about?" The human stepped forward and touched the projection device again. The display changed. Now it showed images, raw, unfiltered. Martian quarantine camps. The burning of the Europa resistance. Blockaded Earth colonies, the Lissari ships hanging like vultures in orbit while food supplies were left to rot. Unprovoked containment strikes on the Saturn moons. The execution of the first Terran ambassador in cold vacuum. You called it protocol. Enforcement. Prevention, the envoy said. We called it an invitation. Vrash growled. This is vengeance then? The envoy's eyes sharpened. No. This is clarity. And with that, he turned and walked away, leaving the device, the projection, and the single word echoing through the chamber like a verdict. Outer Rim, Planet Daxier Neutral Zone. The planet Daxier had been neutral for over 2 centuries, its soil untouched by war since the Treaty of Four Suns. It was a quiet place. Peaceful. Safe. Until the humans arrived. They didn't invade. They didn't bomb. They landed. And then, they rebuilt. Within days, human engineering crews had turned a vacant city into a thriving logistics hub. Medical ships treated both human and alien wounded. Translator drones handed out food, water, power modules. And everywhere, the humans asked the same question, what do you remember? A Zerati refugee, old and toothless, looked up at one of the engineers. I remember your ships blotting out the stars, he said. I remember praying to gods I didn't believe in. The engineer nodded slowly, placing a warm rations pack in the alien's hands. Good, he said. That means you'll never forget why we came. The humans weren't just fighting the Council. They were writing their history into every surviving witness. Council Black Site, Vault Delta 12. Admiral Gyrax stood alone before the containment tank. Inside floated the secret weapon of the Council, Project Eclipse. A biological organism, built from spliced genes across 24 species. Designed to destroy, adapt, and consume. The project had been buried, hidden from the other factions. Too dangerous even to test. A weapon of extinction. We have no choice, came the voice of Vrash over secure channel. Activate it. Send it to them. Gyrax stared at the pulsating creature inside the tank. Its eyes were human. Partially. They are not fighting as conquerors, Gyrax whispered. They are fighting as the betrayed. And betrayal breeds more fire than fear ever could. We must strike, Vrash barked. Before they erase us. But Gyrax simply cut the channel. Because deep down the Admiral no longer believed they could win. All they could do was delay the final page. Deep Orbit, Human Fleet Command, Sector Hades. General Elwood stood on the bridge of the command ship Odysseus, watching a Council transmission in real time. They were offering Project Eclipse. Not as a weapon but as a gift. As proof of surrender. A token of desperation. You see this? She asked her officers. They nodded. They're trying to hand us their boogeyman. Do we accept it? She smiled slightly. Of course we do. We'll break it down. Reverse engineer it. Use it to cure things. She paused. Let the galaxy see the difference between us and them. A young tech turned. And if they're lying? Elwood's voice was iron. Then we'll send back what's left of them, in petri dishes. Council Planet, Sereth Prime. Griven sat in her chamber, alone. Her ethereal glow had dimmed. The stars outside her window seemed farther away than ever. A notification blinked. A human file, encoded but not locked. She hesitated, then opened it. A single message played. A voice. Human. Young. Female. My name is Lila. I was born on Europa. I watched my mother die when the Lissari blockade wouldn't let food through. I was 7. Images followed. Human cities once bombed, now rebuilt. Survivors turned soldiers. Children turned leaders. You thought we would forget. You thought the future would erase your crimes. But we are the future. And we remember everything. The message ended. Griven wept. Not because of guilt, but because she finally understood. Earth, Archives of the Last Silence. Human history was open now, and censored, shared across the stars. They released everything. War crimes committed against them, atrocities endured, betrayals forgiven, but never forgotten. And with each truth sent into the void, the Council fractured further. Civilizations once united by fear of humanity now splintered under the weight of their own shame. And humanity kept pushing forward. Not to rule. Not to burn. But to teach. That the galaxy they'd been denied was theirs now. Because they'd survived it. And survival in the human tongue meant ownership. Final Council broadcast, unauthorized transmission. Vrash, bruised and half-mad, hijacked the last known secure channel. He screamed into the void. Do you think this makes you better? You butchered worlds. You shattered stars. You crushed us. The reply came not from a soldier, but from a teacher, broadcast from a human vessel over Vrash's homeworld, where peace operations were already underway. No, we don't think we're better. We know what we are. You thought we were weak because we asked for peace. You mistook patience for fear. And now you know the difference. You mistook patience for fear. The words echoed far beyond Vrash's burning transmission tower. Across fractured empires and smoldering moons, across broken fleets drifting in silence, they repeated themselves like prophecy. Not screamed. Not roared. Spoken with certainty. And that certainty was a gravity none could escape. Orbit of Vrash's homeworld, Sakari Prime. The skies over Sakari burned, but not from war. Human ships, sleek and black as void light, hung in still formation, their weapons powered down. What followed was not a bombardment. It was occupation by presence. Every sensor was jammed, every broadcast overridden. Civilian networks played Earth media. Council feeds showed images of Sol, of the blue cradle the galaxy had tried to suffocate. And then, the message. Elwood herself appeared. Her voice low. Tired. But not defeated. We do not conquer. We remember. You thought our history was weakness. You thought loss would make us docile. But loss forged us. You gave us a galaxy that had no place for us. And we carved one anyway. This is not surrender. This is correction. Humanity's real weapon, not fire but memory. Across the stars, surviving members of the Council began to notice a pattern. Humans didn't enslave. Didn't strip mine. Didn't garrison every world. They rebuilt. They taught languages. Shared medical advancements. Restored ecological balance to planets wrecked by war. But on every liberated world, one thing remained constant. A monument. Tall, obsidian slabs carved with the names of lost colonies, starved civilians, bombed cities. Below the names in every dialect the species spoke a single phrase. They thought we would beg. We answered with becoming more. In doing so, humanity ensured their story wouldn't just exist. It would echo. They weren't just rewriting galactic politics. They were rewriting galactic identity. Inside Earth's Soul Core memory bank, Project Answer. Project Answer wasn't a superweapon. Not anymore. It began as a contingency. A failsafe AI swarm designed to trigger extinction-level retaliation if Earth ever fell. But under Elwood's order, it evolved. Now it was a mirror. A living archive of every injustice committed by the Council. Full simulations. Names. Logs. Voices. And it was open source. Every world received a fragment of it. Every citizen of every race could walk into a memory hall and see what their leaders had chosen to hide. Watch a Martian child wither behind a blockade. Hear the final radio calls of Europa resistance fighters as the vacuum took them. Watch orbital footage of human medics turned away while alien nobles drank wine made from melted glacier water. The truth didn't scream. It showed. And it broke something inside the old powers that could never be mended. Final gathering of the Council, Earth, neutralized Zone Omega. The last of the surviving Council leaders stood within the Bastion, the underground Terran sanctuary designed to outlast solar collapse. A courtesy. A mercy. Vrash, thinner and hunched. Griven, her glow nearly gone. A Lissari aide held her arm so she could walk. Gyrax had not arrived. Because he had died quietly, after leaving behind a single line of text. The war we feared came true only because we deserved it. The chamber was silent when Elwood entered. She wore no armor, no insignia. She carried only a small cube in her hand. This is the vote, she said. A simple binary. Yes or no. Griven's voice cracked. A vote for what? For inclusion, Elwood said. A place in a new order. Not under us. With us. A future you can help build. Vrash's eyes narrowed. After all we've done? Elwood leaned forward, voice low. Especially after all you've done. Because if we exclude you, then we become you. The vote passed. Not unanimously. But enough. 50 years later, Galactic Archive Entry 0. Title, Humanity's Reckoning. Classified, Open. Required viewing for all galactic youth, Cycle 1 to 5. They came from a wounded world. They came not to rule but to answer. And their answer was fire and memory and mercy forged from iron. They were not what we expected. And we were not what they feared. But in the end they did not burn us. They did not erase us. They gave us a seat, at a new table made of broken stones and rebuilt trust. And carved into that table is a single phrase in Terran tongue. You thought we would beg for mercy, but mercy was always ours to give. Fade to black. End of section 4. Thanks for traveling with me through this journey. If you enjoyed it, if it resonated, consider subscribing to the Void Narratives for more stories where humanity fights not just with fists, but with soul. This galaxy's only getting bigger, and humanity's only just begun. Let me know when you're ready for the next story.